Hello, my name is Dr. Ridwan Fontaine. I teach Islamic Management at the International Islamic University Malaysia. And today we will focus on the fifth and the final part of Surah Al-Baqarah. So this part is about the story is now switching to the Muslims. And there are three central ayats in this section, which we'll talk about in the next video. What I really want to do in this video is, first of all, talk about the coherence of the Quran. Sometimes this is called a nadam. And also talk about this idea of Islamic spirituality. So the story so far, the introduction, which focused on the purpose of creation, the story of Adam and Iblis, which focused on the importance of Tawbah, the story of Bani Israel, which is basically a community that as a whole didn't do Tawbah. Some individually made Tawbah, but as a community they didn't do Tawbah. And they forgot the real legacy of Nabi Ibrahim. The fourth part is the legacy of Nabi Ibrahim. His life was a life of trials. And so it's very important to understand the difference between being tried by Allah and being punished by Allah, right? So trials is about tests from Allah in order to improve your iman. So now there's a switch to the Muslims. And the idea was the Bani Israel was supposed to give the example to humanity. How does a community live according to the principles of Islam? Okay, so they failed. So now the responsibility of the Muslim is, how do you as a community live according to the principles of Islam? Now there's 160 ayat. So this is a lot of things going on. In this video, what I want to do is kind of show you the ideas, how they flow. Okay, so first of all, we are told that the Muslims are going to replace Bani Israel as an example for humanity. Then there's the switch of the Qibla. This will mean a series of trials, such as loss of wealth and life. Despite these trials, know that Allah is Ar-Rahman. Okay. So this is something really quite interesting. If you want Allah's rahmah, you need to make effort. So for example, rain is rahmah from Allah. Okay, but if you want agriculture, you need to use the rahmah of Allah, which is the rain, and also you have to plant the seed and you have to cultivate the land and all of that. Okay. Now if you receive the rahmah of Allah and you make the effort, and if you are grateful, you will eat the risk from Allah that is halal. Okay? Shaitan or Satan will try to get you to eat from the haram. So this is kind of one of the main themes of this part of the surah, where there's a tension between what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do and what Shaitan wants you to do. And it's about basically Shaitan is pushing you to ignore the halal and the haram. Ignore the halal and pushing you into the haram. In this section, we are also told that the greatest test is hiding knowledge. And there are lots of legal issues which are related to marriage, inheritance, and business transactions, which we will discuss in a different video. Now, the thing that I'm really interested in, and we're going to come about this in more detail in the next video, is that this part of Surah Al-Baqarah is actually very spiritual. But there's a lot of hukum that relates to ordinary life. And this is kind of the concept of Islamic spirituality, is that there's a balance between the akhirah and the dunya. So if you are the kind of person where you are only thinking about the akhirah and you're not interested in the dunya at all, you basically miss the point, right? As a Muslim, you should get married, you should, find a job, you should earn an income, you should manage your career, etc., etc. That's part of Islamic spirituality. If your understanding of being a Muslim is only focusing on the dunya and you kind of forget your ibadah completely, you've also missed the point, right? So the key to Islamic spirituality is the balance between this dunya and the akhirah, and there's a complicated relationship between the two. The best example that I can think of is the ayat concerning fasting, okay? So in Surah Al-Baqarah, there's a few ayat concerning fasting. At the end of these ayat concerning fasting, there is an ayat that basically says you're not allowed to give bribes to corrupt government officials. So the question is, why is there fasting and then followed by bribes? The logic is very simple. If you have fasted during the month of Ramadan and you have benefited from that fasting, you will not give a bribe. If you have fasted during Ramadan and at the end of Ramadan you continue to give bribes, it means you didn't benefit from Ramadan, right? So there's a very interesting relationship between the ibadah you do, the way you live your life, and if you improve the way you live your life, that improves the quality of your ibadah. Your quality of your ibadah improves, that improves the way you live your life, etc., etc. That's what Islamic spirituality is all about, okay? The next ayat is very interesting. We'll talk about that next week. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.